Happy Friday and welcome to Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones Cooper. The new show, Tell Me a Story, takes the world's most beloved fairy tales like The Three Little Pigs and Little Red Riding Hood and reimagines them as a dark, twisted psychological thriller. Today, I'll be joined by one of the show's stars, Paul Wesley. But first, let's check out the trailer from Tell Me a Story.
I wanted to get married, have a family. But the world is no place for that anymore.
Everybody on the floor now!
You and your three friends robbed a jewelry store.
You got the wrong guy.
The world is angry. I have to do something.
Wait. It may rain later. I'll be okay.
Cops brought me in. I'm not going down for that.
You don't threaten me.
Is this wrong?
I know.
My brother's gotten into some trouble.
Put my money! Let him go!
Maybe we'll get lucky.
We're not lucky people, Anna.
Everything's a little upside down right now.
Why didn't you call for help?
I called you! This guy, he's stalking me.
You can't do this. You're not the vigilante type.
Something going on I don't know about?
That's a really good question that has a really bad answer.
Something's wrong. I will never go away.
They're gonna kill us both.
You're no wolf at all. You're just a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Everybody put your hands together for Paul Wesley.
Thank you. I was probably talking to the mic. Yeah, thank you.
Also, I love that the trailer ends on a pig head getting thrown at you.
It's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, it just kind of sets the tone for this spooky season.
Exactly.
So the trailer for this first premiered at Comic-Con. So
Yes.
what was that experience like? Because Comic-Con crowds are always really excited and...
Yeah, Comic-Con was... I've actually gone to Comic-Con 10 years, 11 years actually. And for the first, for the last 8 years I've gone with the Vampire Diaries. And that show had like a built-in audience of, and I mean this in the most loving way, fanatics. And so we would do Hall H and it would be like, thousands of people screaming. With this show, no one knows what it is, really. So it was a lot more chill compared to my previous experiences. But it was still, a lovely reception.
And I got to check out the first couple of episodes, and I love, obviously, these fairy tales we know, we grew up with, and so I'm always so impressed when somebody's able to just flip it on its head.
Yeah.
And so tell us about how fairy tales are sort of entwined in the plot of Tell Me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Kevin Williamson, he's a genius, like the way he flipped the horror genre on its head with Scream, when you watch Scream, as a kid, it just scared the hell out of me. As an adult, I watch it and I see how smart it is because it's sort of, you're winking to the audience. You're sort of, in a weird way, it's a satire of the horror genre while still being genuinely scary. And so what this is it's not a satire, but it takes the fairy tales that we've all heard as children, the Three Little Pigs and the Little Red Riding Hood and all that, and they are actually very creepy. If you really, in the Three Little Pigs, the third pig tricks the wolf, boils the wolf alive and eats it. That's actually what happens in the story. And so if you actually look at these fairy tales, it's like, oh, it's the Three Little Pigs, but it's actually kind of a horror story. And so Kevin Williamson managed to twist it. It is based on a Argentinian format that already exists. So it's not completely original, but it's original for the US, I suppose. Yeah.
It was original to me. I had never really seen anything quite like it, which made it fun and made me want to keep kind of
I
watching.
hope people watch it.
Yeah.
I hope you guys watch it.
And you know, like the traditional ending, but then you're like, oh, it's not gonna end. Like you know
Yeah.
that they're gonna take you on a ride, which makes it really
Yeah.
enticing.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
play Eddie.
I do.
Who's in the Three Little Pigs sort of storyline.
Yeah,
So tell us about Eddie.
The natural casting
Yes.
for one of the,
I can-
the Three
if you
Little
just go
Pigs.
like,
yeah,
maybe.
exactly. I play, so I'm one of the little pigs. In our story, we rob a jewelry store and we wear pig masks in order to rob the jewelry store because there's a big protest. There's a police brutality protest and there's all these people wearing pig masks. So we come up with the idea of putting on pig masks and then blending into the crowd. Eddie is the, I don't want to give it too much away, but Eddie's the smallest pig. He's the first pig. He's the pig that is the weakest. He's a mess. He's, the reason I gravitated towards this character, I was so thrilled when Kevin approached me, is because he's the opposite of everything that I've been doing for the last 8 years. He's the screw up. He's the guy that is, he's got a lot of issues, and he's not the hero of the story at all. He does something really bad, quote, I hate to say that, but like general term bad, and inevitably things fall apart for him.
You mentioned that he was attractive because he's so flawed. Why?
Yeah.
Why was that something that you really wanted to dig into?
I mean, I just, when you're on a show for 8 years, people stereotype you. They're like, that's the guy from the Vampire Diaries. That's what he does. He's a, one-trick pony. And I do that sometimes. Like I watch a TV show, I fall in love with it, and then I can't see myself. I can't see that person as anything else. And so, for me, like this was a fantastic opportunity to do something that hopefully people watch and say, oh, okay, like, Paul can do something a little bit different.
And your character is a bartender. Did you have to learn any mixologist tricks?
I mean, I drink a lot of alcohol on my own, so I don't really need to. Although I'm a pretty straight drinker, like I'm like whiskey, wine, or beer. That's like my. But no, I didn't. So don't look closely when you're watching the show because it doesn't. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Nothing is drinkable.
Like pouring random bottles and nothing's drinkable. The worst bartender in town.
What I love too is that there's obviously these 3 different stories being told. And I haven't gotten far enough in, but I also love that it looks like they're sort of intertwining, right?
Yeah, I mean, so what I love about the pilot or the opening, the episode is that like in the first scene you'll just see like one of the main characters jog by and then someone will ride their bike and then all of a sudden it switches off to that person. And so these characters do eventually intersect, but they cross paths prior to, is that the subway? Yeah. Oh no, wow, that was amazing. I felt like there was an earthquake. New York. So it intersects a little bit.
The Little Red Riding Hood storyline was really cool for me. I'm a huge Sex and the City fan. And again, like you were saying about breaking character, Kim Cattrall is playing a grandmother.
Yeah, right. Which I think is very brave.
Which is so brave
Yeah.
and awesome. And she nails it. And her chemistry with Danielle, the actress, is just really great.
Yeah, very good. And I agree. I watched a few episodes of Sex and the City.
Just a few?
I know, right? No, but I really liked it. Like, it's a great show. Yeah, like, is that... I know, like, it's usually the more of a female audience, but I really enjoyed it. I wasn't like a huge Sex and the City fanatic, but I did enjoy it, and I like that she's a sexy grandma though.
She's really hot.
She's a sexy
She's
grandma.
a hot grandma.
So she's but I like the fact that she's able to embrace a different character. Yeah.
And these stories are set in New York City, which when you think of fairy tale, you always imagine them out in the forest. And
New York City's the forest.
Is it? Yeah.
But really it is. That was like the sort of the pitch was like New York City is the forest, and that's where everyone plays.
Yeah. Take me through like how different how much it elevates the storytelling when you have so many different things to play with in New York City, from like the club scene to.
I just love I love New York. I live here. I grew up in Jersey, 45 minutes south, but I spent a lot of my childhood here. And for me, it's the most dynamic city because it's just it's a mecca of culture. You have every culture, every economic class, and everyone's sort of on this island, and they're all just like stuck. Obviously there's the outer boroughs, but like what I love is that you know, we shot in Brooklyn and Manhattan or whatever, and it's just it's all within this like 15-mile radius, you know, and it's like it's pretty amazing. And I've always had this like amazing dream of shooting a show in New York, you know, and it was just so nice. I moved to New York to kind of just get away from the Hollywood scene for a minute. You know, I just kind of was feeling a little bit claustrophobic. And so when this came about, it was a very nice surprise. I don't expect another show in New York. Maybe I'll get lucky 2 in a row. But yeah, it was kind of a dream come true.
Is it really that different of an atmosphere for an actor moving to New York?
I think so. You know, I started doing like one of my, I just wanted to like figure out what I was all about. It's not easy to do a show for 8 years and then kind of, you really just don't know what, like, you're like, what do I do now? Like, you know, I wanted to do some theater. I did a couple plays. And I kind of just, I wanted to just like wake up in the morning and be able to like get a coffee and not see someone reading a script, you know, and like just be around sort of, I'm not trying to like rip on LA or Hollywood because I really like it and it's great, especially in the winter. But I wanted to sort of be, you know, I wanted to be able to go to the theater and, you know, walk around, just walking. I enjoy walking. It's very stimulating.
I think anybody can relate to that. Like if you do a job for a while, you just need to reset.
You just need to figure out.
And it's hard to reset in the same place.
I still feel like I haven't quite reset, you know. Still trying to like understand what I'm doing as a 36-year-old man.
As a human, yeah.
Getting pigs thrown at me.
On the topic of Vampire Diaries, what I do love is that it seems like you guys are all still really great friends and you're supporting each other in your projects. I just saw the Insta story with Nina, and then Ian posted that Instagram with you. And I mean, how great is that for you that even as you move on, you still have that like family supporting you?
I remember Nina always says this because I remember one time her and I used to bicker on set because you know you work with someone for so many years and you're every day and you're like, oh. So we would like bicker a little like friends, you know. And I looked at her one day, I was like, you know what? I was like, one day I'm gonna miss you and you're gonna miss me. And she's like, yeah, probably. And then like, sure enough, the show ended and I'm like, hey, how are you? And then like all of a sudden we're like really good buddies. And you know, and even with Ian, like I mean, you just spend so much time with, you know, they're both honestly just like really really nice people. So it's nice to have that now where you're not forced to be around them. All of a sudden you miss them.
And to get to watch your friends move on and do great things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's no better feeling than watching your friends succeed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So another thing I really loved about this show is the kind of political undertones.
Yeah.
Which is very, you know, it's almost hard not to make a show now and kind of reference some of the things, but it's also really brave to just be that kind of outspoken about certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I at the premiere the other day, it was my first time seeing the show in its you know, entirety, and there's a full-on news you know, station playing with the week's news, and we're so oversaturated with news. I think the news has become our new form of soap operas and reality TV. I mean, really, like we used to all watch soap operas and you know, what people watched back in the day, Dynasty or something. Now you just turn it on and it's amazing. It's like the Kardashians, right? Some people want to escape from all that crap by watching film and television, but I think that it's such a huge part of our lives now that we have to reference it. Otherwise, it'd be kind of like ignorant not to.
You mentioned soap operas, but also fairy tales, and in both of those, there's like the villain and the hero, and so it really, actually, quite expertly ties into the plot a lot because you have all those characters in the media and then
yeah, that's true. That's a good way. I never thought of it that way.
Like Trump could be the big bad wolf,
or Little Red Riding Hood.
Right.
I can see the similarity.
I could keep going. So what are you most excited for people to see or experience with this new show?
You know, I just honestly, not to make it about myself, it's very entertaining. It's a real ride. You know, I found myself, you know, sometimes you watch things that you do and you're like, that's not that good, but I have to pretend it's good. It's really good. Like it's genuinely, like I found myself in the theater watching it and really wanting to know what happens next, you know, because I the stories are fairly contained, and like so the Hansel and Gretel storyline and the Little Red Riding Hood storyline, I genuinely was excited to see what was happening next.
Oh yeah, because you didn't get to
Not
really
really,
fun with them.
no. I mean, not really, no.
How fun is that?
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, I know we have some fans in the audience, so I think it's a good time to go to questions. Oh, back here is first.
Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
So my question is, whenever you get a script, what's the first thing that you look for that really impacts your decision as to whether or not you want to take on the role?
It's a good question. You know, I'm a big fan of subtlety. I'm not really interested in doing things that are like a horror film that is just for the shock of horror, or, you know, drama, over the top drama where we're asking people to feel sorry for characters. Like, I really enjoy subtlety and gray. I don't like black and white, I like gray. And so I try to, and the greatest scripts are always subtle. And I know that's a kind of a vague answer, but that's what I look for. Yeah.
And Kevin Williamson is a part of the show as well. Was that something that attracted you, obviously?
Yeah. But what I like about Kevin is that Kevin has this Kevin Williamson touch that is very unique, and it's why he's so successful. It's because he's able to do things. It's the most oxymoronic thing, because he'll do something very bluntly, but it'll have a real hint of subtlety and innuendo, so you can like watch something and it's very sort of like a pig mask being thrown, right, or a pig head. Like, it's very kind of big, but there's this kind of weird undertone. And I know that's like, I'm being super like esoteric, but honestly, it's like, it's a very specific thing that he does, and I don't know how to like put into words.
Well, the best content are things that you watch it and then like 2 days later you're like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
You know, like that's
exactly.
what that meant.
Yes.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yes.
Next question.
Hi.
Hi.
So good. I'm good. Sorry. Okay. So I was just wondering how you got into this role, and also why these 3 stories? Like, was there a reason?
I think, well, first of all, Kevin just offered it to me, and I was, you know, very flattered. That was fantastic. So that's how I got involved. And I think initially, the first draft I read had a Jack and the Beanstalk storyline. And then for whatever reason, they decided to switch it to Hansel and Gretel. I don't quite know why, and I don't know actually why these 3 storylines. Although I suppose these are the 3 most infamous, I would imagine, right?
Do you think you guys are going to add any others?
Well, so the show is anthological in that none of the storylines, none of the stories are going to be in season 2, and none of the same actors will be in season 2. Okay. So. So next season there'll be a whole new set of storylines and a whole new set of actors, I think.
Okay, cool.
That's my understanding of it, which is great because it's like a big movie. But yeah, but I guess Black Mirror. But Black Mirror is different people each episode, so yeah, similar.
True Detective.
There it is.
Season 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last question.
I think you've sort of answered this question already to an extent, but I'll ask it anyway. You mentioned psychological horror and Kevin Williamson. I've always preferred that kind myself as opposed to the Eli Roth, which isn't even horror. It's just, well, whatever, that's left undefined for now. But what kind of horror do you prefer to watch, if anything?
You know, I'm a big fan of like, you know, Stanley Kubrick, for example. This is a guy that creates something. I just want to feel unsettled. You know, I'm interested in feeling unsettled and uneasy. I'm not interested in going, oh, that's disgusting. You know, because I can like do anybody could do something disgusting. You know, I don't really care. What I want to do is I want to be manipulated into feeling unsettled. I watched a Netflix show last night called The Haunting of Hill House, which was very good and really shot so well. Really well told, and it's really a story about like a family grieving. I'm like pitching another show to you guys, but that's what it is. It's like it's really a story about family grieving, right, from the death of the mom or whatever, and it's interesting, you know. Yeah.
I feel the exact opposite. I like to feel warm and comfortable, and not scared.
Right, right.
Are you a big Halloween guy? Are you gonna dress up this weekend or?
I'm not. I really am not. I don't like Halloween. I'm sorry. Like, I'm gonna stay home and watch this. Okay. Yeah.
There you go. If you want to do this game, Tell Me a Story premieres on CBS All Access on October 31st. Give it up for Paul.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.